No, I didn't.
And we've started. We're going. Welcome to Happy Chaos. It is it's the second episode. This is episode 2 of Happy Chaos. This is the podcast where you can win $1 million.
Stop! Don't tell people that.
I just said you can. I didn't say we're giving it away. I didn't say we were giving it away. I said no. This is where you can.
You can't win it here. I promise. We don't have
If one of you wins $1 million, they're gonna be like, if we didn't win it there, because
you're gonna get us in so much trouble. And people think I'm the troublemaker. I'm not the troublemaker.
I was just trying to keep them engaged. You know, they're like, when's the $1 million? Yeah, $1 million isn't even this much. There's a house down the road for sale for $1 million.
2 houses down.
Yeah, I feel like there was a time in my life when like that was like a mansion, like that you were. Yeah. And yeah, it's no mansion.
Mean, people would probably think we got quite the house with.
Y'all! I mean,
7
you could
kids
do an
living
MTV
in the house, and they all have their own bedroom except 2 of them.
You could do an MTV Cribs here.
MTV, you're plugging MTV now. He's the bad one,
and he's a pastor. I don't watch MTV Cribs. I've seen it though. Yeah. I don't watch it on the regular.
I think as teenagers we've all seen it.
I don't think it's even around anymore.
No.
I don't think they have it. Like,
is MTV even around anymore?
I don't know.
Is TV around anymore? I mean, we just have services like Netflix and Amazon.
People have TV for sure. But I think Shaq has shown his house enough on Cribs. I don't think they need to go see his house again. Okay, anyways, we are way off topic today. Well,
okay.
I don't know if you guys just dropped off at this point. This has nothing to do with anything.
Oh, goodness. I hope not.
But it is Happy Chaos.
It is Happy Chaos.
And that
today proves Happy Chaos. Do you want to tell them just a quick little brief?
Let's tell them, okay, so we're going to talk about faith today.
Yeah.
And like faith and in loss, like before, like kind of during loss, and then before and during and after loss, and so grief, like faith during grief. We're going to talk about that, and hopefully just be encouraging. I have my pen ready. This one, if I'm like Kelly's talking and I'm thinking about notes, I'm going to be jotting.
You have to say interesting.
Oh, I do that all the time. Just mentally, I just mentally write it down.
Anyways.
But today is why we call this podcast Happy Chaos.
Yeah, this is true.
We set out today for the Creation Museum. You guys ever heard of that?
By the way, if you have not been there, you should totally go check it out.
It's so it's just so in depth and I think I always am impressed when I leave the Creation Museum and I feel like there's just such a quality of education about creation science that is there. Mm-hmm. Anyways, there's a plug for that. There's all kinds of plugs happening today.
Creation Museum, hit us up.
Yeah, they don't. They didn't give us. We have a daughter that's like a month after 11, and they were like, she does not get the kid price.
She doesn't get the kid price.
I feel like kid price should be 12 and under, but hey, who am I?
Seriously.
Yeah. Anyways, we set up for the Creation Museum. It's an hour and a half drive. We left at 7:30 in the morning, and it's pouring rain. A lot of rain here in
It's
Kentucky.
monsooning here.
Yeah.
Like floods everywhere.
And my son.
He followed us. We were in a separate vehicle.
Yeah.
He wanted to drive separately because, kids are so cool when they get their driver's license.
And that's what makes for the chaos kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Like we're all trying. It's like the Family Circus. Do y'all remember that cartoon? Do you remember that?
No.
The Family Circus?
I don't think so.
Oh, man.
Yeah. It was newspaper.
Yeah, newspaper. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. Way back. You got to go way back. Yeah. Anyways, that
was before my time.
It's like that, leaving the house. I mean, it's just, there's just, you get this, I forgot this, I'm running for that.
Yeah.
Everybody's going everywhere. And so we get in the car at 7:30 in the morning. My son's driving separate. My daughter rides with him. We're behind him. And I saw it. I saw the pothole, and he just creamed this pothole, and it was deep. I mean, like you could probably you could bury a small pet in that thing. It was was just saying it was big. It was a big pothole. That's all I'm saying. What would you put in it?
I don't know, but it was deep. I mean, when he hit this thing, it was an instant pullover.
Yeah, I mean-
like there was no, do we have flat tire? He was like,
Oh, and it was like to the rim, like
he bent the rim.
yeah.
He bent the rim.
And that led us to sitting on the side of the road.
To the side of the highway.
Yeah, we're on a highway, 70 miles an hour, pouring rain, and it's a tiny little shoulder, and we're in the curve. And by the way, there were 5 cars lined up at one point, all with their flashers on, where they had hit the same pothole and pulled over and popped their tires. I mean, and so that, Kentucky, that says something. We need to work on that. Anyways, whatever. Then traffic, then the people were from the road department were out there working on the potholes, and they backed traffic all the way up. So the people from the school that were trying
All
to
our
go on
friends.
this- yeah, they were backed up in traffic because of something that we were a part of. And they went on to the Creation Museum, and I'll just say that we left at 7:30 and we got there at like 12:30.
Yep.
We finally got to the Creation Museum at 12:30, and yeah. And so, then by the time it was end of the day, the younger ones were just fussing and crying and
And we just looked at each other and we said, happy chaos.
happy chaos. That's
Happy
right.
chaos.
Like that's, yeah, it was.
I mean, we had starving children. We had children that were wasting away to nothing.
Well, and then the drive home, we had to go 45 the entire way because my son's got a donut spare on his car. And so we had parked it, but we had to pick it up on the way back. And so, it's just monsooning and kids are in the car, put your shoes on, it smells, and all the things.
Don't look at me. Don't touch me.
Right. I've told her not to lean on me. So anyways, there you go. Happy chaos. That's
Happy chaos.
That's our lives.
Yes.
We just take it in strides. I think I looked at you at one point in the Creation Museum and I was like, I'm trying not to be.
Yeah.
Trying not to be.
You
mad.
were good though.
I didn't-
You were so mellow and
It was an
I didn't know you were
intentional.
on edge.
It was an intentional mellow.
Yeah. It was good though. It was good.
If there had been a punching bag, it would have got it.
Yeah.
They should put one of those at attractions. Of course, they would charge $12 to use the punching
We should
bag.
create a steering wheel that's like a squeegee ball. Oh yeah. So when you're driving home, you're just like,
At least a cover, like a steering
That's
wheel
what I mean.
cover that you could
that's what I mean.
the Happy Chaos steering wheel cover. Kelly made some shirts.
I made some shirts. You'll have to check out his website and
Yeah.
tell me what you think. And if you like them, order one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have one coming in.
I do. I ordered one. My happy chaos with the smiley face.
Yeah.
It's really cute. It'll be in the story, so you'll have to check it out.
Y'all want to know one more thing before we get started
Oh,
here
boy.
about faith? Is that Kelly had to go change because she was wearing a white shirt. So she
I'm not
went.
supposed to tell them.
So she went. She changed. She went. And she changed. The Happy Chaos shirt that she ordered is white.
That's different, though.
And we're gonna see.
That's
We're gonna see. Okay, let's get started. Let's talk about some faith.
good idea. 8 minutes in, that's not too bad.
I guess I don't know. I don't know how to do this. I mean, that's not really true. I guess I kind of do.
You totally know how to do this.
Yeah, I guess I do stuff like this.
Yeah.
You can only sandbag it for so long and be like, I don't know how to do this, but I kind of.
Well, he's not faking it till he makes it. I know people do that. This man, he's a pro.
No. I'm a bro. It's bro-fessional. Say, hey, bro, can you help me out? It's bro-fessional. If y'all saw the rest of this room right now, if you saw what was holding this microphone up, you would be like, that is not professional.
Don't tell them that.
Broke. My stand broke. My little arm broke. And so you make do, You
You do.
So we know what the date is, and we have a microphone stand.
That's not the right date.
We don't know what the date is, and we have a microphone. Happy chaos,
Happy chaos. Happy chaos. We can't live by dates. No, we do actually very much. Live by dates.
Yeah, a lot of them. Okay, let's talk about faith. But the question at hand right now that I think we want to answer today is like, what role did faith play? I think one of the number one questions that I hear, probably because I'm a pastor, mixed with I lost my wife. But the number one question I hear is, how did you go through that and not lose your faith? How did you not get mad at God? And, that usually comes with the story of someone who's suffered some sort of a loss and then has, I would say, mistakenly placed their irritation and their anger on God.
Yeah, and that's even how we met. I wasn't angry at God. It was just.
I don't mean to say everybody's angry.
No. I
just mean a lot of people.
I'm following up with that's how I met you. I wasn't angry at God, but I just, honestly, my faith is what got me through. That is the only thing that got me through. I cannot imagine not having faith. And we met on a widow group on Facebook. And when you go on there, you join the group, you kind of tell your little story. And Justin had commented and said that he lost his wife to the same cancer, and he had a big family, lot of kids, and so I clicked on his page. He lost his wife to the same thing. Go ahead, say it.
This is why she was giggling in the beginning, because I said, and because you thought I was cute.
He is cute, but
she said cute. Right before the camera came on, before the mic was hot, she said, if you weren't cute, I probably wouldn't have clicked on it. Why are you telling him that? Gosh.
Anyways.
It's fine, honey.
So, and I saw that
we're married. You can think I'm cute. It's okay.
I know. But I sound shallow. But listen, so I saw he was a pastor. And my thought was, my big question that I was battling was, how does this pastor feel about the Lord not answering our prayer?
Yeah.
Because that was my biggest question to the Lord. Like, Lord, you don't hear me. Like I cried out to you the whole, 2 years my husband was in horrible pain and sick. And then when we found out it was cancer, and then when we saw him withering away, it was like, well, why? Why aren't you listening to me? Why aren't you taking away his pain? Like, I know you're there. I know you're there. I have complete and total faith that you're there. You created us. You brought us together. But why? Why not answer that prayer? And like, how does a pastor feel about the Lord not answering that prayer? And maybe you can just speak into that a little bit.
I think the first thing, I think it starts with a foundation of faith. Like sometimes you're building something for later, and it's hard to see that, when you're doing it. Faith is not this abstract. It's not like this abstract thing that, or maybe not even a thing, like an abstract idea that, that people who, I think there's like this idea that's like, oh, people of faith is like, it's like a coping mechanism, like it's an idea that it helps you to cope or something of that nature. But it's not true. Like faith is a real thing.
Absolutely.
And, faith is, as the Bible says, faith is the substance of things hoped for. It's the evidence of things not seen, and it's the substance of things that are hoped for. And so I think that you start with a foundation when the years were good, when Sarah was healthy, when we were young, when we were, fostering children and having our first children and, buying a home and starting a business and all of those things. There were these like gradual steps of faith that were being built in us. And, if you don't work on that, if you don't work on your faith, then I think what happens when you get to a place where you get rocked, where your world gets rocked, then your faith is moving with everything else.
Right.
But if you will have a foundation of faith, so faith isn't something I bring along with everything that I'm doing. Faith is the thing I'm standing on to begin with.
Right.
And so I'm building on faith and building on faith and building on faith for all of these years. For me and my wife, it was 18 years of building faith, so that when the day came that my world got rocked, my faith was the foundation. And not just like this, like the, what's the movie? High School Musical, the High School Musical, they've got the song and it's like, they sing like, and keep the faith, you know what I'm talking about? And that,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I would say when I hear that, I'm like, well, what faith? Like faith in faith is not the thing.
Right.
It's not like, oh, well, I have faith in my faith.
Right.
So I have faith that this faith is going to hold me up. That's foolishness.
Yeah.
Like that's circular, you're compounding silliness to say that. It is faith in Christ.
Yes.
It is faith in the Lord. Faith to say, even though I don't have all of the answers, I know that I trust the Lord. I know that He is good. I have faith in His plan, and I have faith in our salvation. There's, I think we talked last week a little bit about, you knew that God was going to heal Jonathan. You felt like you knew that. And I can say the same. I felt like I knew that Sarah was going to be healed.
Yeah.
But there's this part in my mind that says, but even if she's not, I still know, I know that she has eternity with God. I can't read in the scriptures and find where God would say that He would heal my wife of her cancer if I would do the certain thing.
Right.
But I can find these parts in the Bible that say, if I will believe in Jesus, then He will give me eternal life. And my wife believed that. And so there's this part of my mind. So what I'm saying is that during the loss, during all those years of building faith, when we got to that point of now she's sick and our world is rocked, there's this part in the back of my mind that says, even if she passes, I know where she is going. I know where her eternity will be. I know that I would see her again. Obviously, I didn't dwell on those thoughts because I'm too busy, making carrot juice and taking her to chemo treatments and all the things that came along with it. I was busy about life, but it certainly was in the back of my mind to say, like, I have this faith, and that's the thing I'm holding on to.
So I think that's actually where my realization of what my faith is after he passed, because I was like, I have faith that the Lord is going to get us through this. He is going to heal him. He is not going to pass away. And it was after that, when he did pass away, that I did cry out and I said, Lord, why aren't you listening to me? He passed away, and now look at me. I'm distraught and I'm so sad and I can't stop crying. And Lord, I need you to comfort me right now. And it was like this realization that is my faith. Like, even though I feel, which he didn't ignore me, but even though I feel like he couldn't hear me, I knew he was there. I knew he was holding me. I knew where Jonathan is. And I knew that no matter what, he knows why he took Jonathan. He knows all of these things. And I had faith that it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay because he knows. And I don't know, it was just like this click for me, this realization of the, even though this is what's happening, he knows what's best. He knows what's best for me. He created me. And
yeah. I think for me, the visualization that I have is the difference of, like, if you see faith as the thing that you're holding on to, like I'm holding on to this pin, I move this pin around with me. I think some people inadvertently might have the idea of faith like it's this, like they're holding on to this thing, right? And the difference is, for me, faith is like this boulder that's underneath that when the waves crashed and knocked me over, I'm holding on to that.
Yeah.
Like more like you would hold on to a life raft.
yeah,
And if you're out in the ocean, and I think at times I felt like I was out in the ocean.
for sure.
And you look as far as the eye can see, and you don't really see any hope.
You don't see rescue.
But if there's a life preserver there, if there's a lifeboat there, then I'm going to lay on that lifeboat. Even if I was out in the middle of the ocean and I couldn't see land as far as the eye could see, I would still lay on that lifeboat. I would not get off. I mean, maybe if I was trying to get a fish or something, I guess, but it feels like I took the analogy too far. But I'm just...
No, I think it's good. I think it's really good and so
Yeah,
true.
faith is that. Like faith is the lifeboat.
Yeah.
And you've had it there all along. You've been building it all of this time. And so for me, my whole life had been about faith. I say my whole life, a good portion of my life, my adult life, I could say my adult life has been about faith. And I think that, there was a test there. So then, during the sickness, there was that faith that we're clinging to when she passed. And then it's, that hardcore, what I would say, any of you all who've experienced loss, I think you would agree with this word, that extreme grief.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I have had grief over certain things in the past, but when you lose when you lose your spouse, your husband, your wife, and when you lose that from a loving relationship, a relationship where you genuinely love each other and want to be with each other, we had plans for the future.
Yeah.
We were happy at the idea
you were going to grow old together.
Of growing old together.
Yep.
Right. It's funny because I think the way I would have said it, 5 years ago when she was with me, I think I would have said it like, until we die. But like I said last week, we did do that. We fulfilled that. It just feels like it was too soon. It feels like it wasn't enough. And so then you get to the point of like after the loss, after the loss has happened, then you have, all this grief that you're dealing with, all this like pain and this sadness. And so, how do you not lose your faith in the middle of that? And I think one of the things that I always recognize there is I question from the opposite side. Like, I don't know that I could have survived without faith. If I didn't know where my wife was in eternity, if I didn't know this loving Savior, if I didn't know that God has this ultimate plan, I feel like that would have made the grief even worse.
Yeah. Like, I know we felt hopeless, but we would be hopeless.
Yeah.
We would literally be hopeless at that point. And I feel like for me, like after the loss, I feel like my faith grew 100 times stronger afterwards. It was the only thing I had.
Yeah.
So I always felt like the Lord made me and my husband for each other. I always used to call us made for each other birds, because it was like the Lord molded us and said, these two are the perfect people for each other, complement each other in every way. And so living life with him, it was always like, this is it, you're my person and you're my everything. And, to a point where now afterwards, I'm like, did I put my husband before the Lord? And I honestly think I'm definitely guilty of that, of the way I used to view it is, well, Lord, you gave him to me. You gave him to me, and he is like an extension of you. That he's the head of the house. You've built man to be the head of the house and over the wife and to protect. And so I was like, Lord, you gave him to me. What, shouldn't I love him to the extent that I love him? But there was a dependency on him instead of a dependency on the Lord. And so after losing him, I realized my eyes need to be on Jesus. He's the only solid, because these things come and go. One day you're going to lose your spouse. You're going to lose your children. You're going to pass away. What do you always have? You always have Christ. And I think that was a tipping point for me too, that really built my faith and just skyrocketed my faith and made me see things in just such a different way.
And I hear that, but think about something. If I was to say the blank, the size of a mustard seed,
Faith.
the faith, like Jesus says, if you have the faith of a mustard seed, you can move this mountain. And I think there was probably, I had similar feelings to that. Sarah passed, and I can say, I think I can say this now a little freer than I probably would have said it then. There was a time that I was having these dreams, really super vivid dreams, And Sarah was in those, to the point, and I'm sure we can address this one day on a podcast. Like I question a little bit more, does the Lord let us interact with those people who have passed on in a different way? You know, I think I would have been very dogmatic 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and I would have said, no way, never, no. Like once look at the rich man and Lazarus. You know, the rich man died and went to hell, and he wanted to go back and tell his brothers and so on and so forth. But you know, I think that the Lord is very real when he says that he comforts the brokenhearted. And he weeps with us, and he is there with us. And so whether or not he allowed me to speak with my wife through dreams, my deceased wife through dreams, wouldn't take away the fact that those dreams were very, very vivid and very, very real to me. And so, but the thing was, like, I started longing. I'm saying that because I started longing for those. And I went through a period where I was praying for those. You know, I'm literally at night praying, Lord, let me talk to her again. Let me see her again. If I could just see her one more time. And that was really difficult for me when I stopped having those. And I actually had a dream, and in the dream, like, should I just describe the dream?
Yeah.
I don't even know if I should.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I haven't thought about this in a minute. It's been a little bit since I've thought about this. I think I've told you this before, but I had this dream, and in the dream there were, when I say levels, I just like imagine being in a room, like there was nothing there. I couldn't make anything out. I'm just in a space, and there's imagine like a shelf, and it goes on forever. Like I can't see the end of it. And Sarah is on the upper, and I'm standing on the lower, and like my chest is like at the other level, and she's up on this other level, and she was correcting me, which she did often. Just do that. And she, it's true. She was kind of like correcting me and questioning me, and I couldn't really give you specifics about that. I don't remember that now. I was very vivid, and I remember I looked at her and I was like, honey, we're doing good. And I started naming the things that we were doing. Like, I'm keeping up with the chore chart, and the kids are doing well in school, and Phoebe's got A's, and she's wanting to read. She loves reading, and I go get her books, and she's been reading all the time. And Titus is so good with math, and so they're all doing so well in school. And
You were cooking, I think you said that.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm making dinners, and I remember in the dream that she kind of like sat up and she said, "You're right. You're doing good." And she turned around and she walked away. She was like on that upper part, and she turned around and she walked away. And I stopped. Now, I have since had a few dreams, but I will tell you that I think that those were more dreams than what I was having before, whether the Lord was giving me some sort of a vision or whatever. But I'm just telling you that, there was this time period where I'm having these dreams. I remember the first dream I had that I saw her. I am like weeping and hugging her, and she's consoling me, and I'm just weeping on her because I'm so hurt. I was so hurt, and there was so much pain from losing her. And then as time had gone on, and here I'm having this dream, and we're just having this conversation like we would have when we were at the house. I mean, it would have been like on a Saturday if I had loaded the dishwasher incorrectly,
right?
And she would have been like, "You can't put the cups on the bottom." I was like, "They wash the same." Like it, and if I open it up and they're clean at the end, it was like that type of a conversation that we were having. But it ended those dreams, and I started to. I was saying all that to say I started having these feelings of like, okay, Lord, am I doing something wrong? Like, am I putting her on a pedestal where you should be? Like, is it wrong that I'm praying at night because I want to see her in a dream? And even to the point, this is going to sound, y'all can decide to judge me if you want. It doesn't matter. But like, I remember having this feeling of like, like, God, I don't care if it's a dream or a vision or if I'm really talking with her, just let me have it again. Like, I don't care if it's on repeat. Like, just let me have the same one again, you know? And I'm almost like bargaining with God about like how much I want to see her. And anyways, I'm saying all that to say, I started having these feelings of guilt, like I was doing something wrong. And I'm telling you, one night I was praying and I just remember saying, God, if I'm doing wrong, if asking you to see Sarah in a dream is wrong because I have her where you should be, you know, forgive me for that. And I just remember feeling this sense of peace that the Lord says, it, you know, in my spirit, not audibly, but just, you know, consoled me with the idea that like God knows our grief and he knows that, you know, my faith is in him. Look, I'm coming to him with the desire that was in my heart.
Yeah.
And, you know, since then and coming out of that like extreme grief, I've come to a place I don't, you know, pray to see my late wife anymore. I don't have dreams anymore. I haven't had a dream in a long time. I mean, I've had a dream where she like was an appearance in the dream.
Right.
But nothing, you know, where we're like communicating and talking and I'm crying on her and she's consoling me or, you know, anything like that. So, you know, I think that was probably just a natural part of grief. I'm saying this to say I think that was a natural part of grief.
Absolutely.
And I think that the Lord understands our pain and our suffering. And maybe I could say it like this, like God's not cruel, and especially not with those people who do believe in him.
Yeah.
You know, even if my doctrine is wrong, you know, if some Bible scholar wants to come at me and say, Justin, you know, you're wrong, you know, nobody's, you know, ascended to heaven and come back down again. Listen, I've heard all those scriptures. I've said all of those things. I'm just telling you, when you lose somebody and then when you have this dream and it feels really real, you know, maybe it's blind hope, but like I said, you'd have a hard time denying what that was, you know, the real that felt. You'd have a hard time denying what that felt like if you'd experienced it. And so my point being that I think God knows that. Like he knows my every thought. He knows those emotions that were going through me. I think that God knows that about you. I think that he knows that you loved your husband and that's a good thing. Like he wants you to love your husband.
Yeah.
He wants everybody here. He wants us to love our spouses and you know, he's the one that gave us a mirrored relationship of himself in the church.
Right.
So I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
He said, like the Lord said, husbands, love your wives like Christ has loved the church. And so that's a pretty great love.
Yeah.
Read Song of Solomon.
Yeah.
And so, well, you got to
shameless plug.
Shameless plug. But you got to read it with understanding.
I have a shameless plug. You have got to watch the Song of Solomon series that he is doing on Wednesday nights. It will blow your mind. It is such an incredible series.
It'll knock your socks off.
It'll knock your socks off. And I'm telling you,
you won't be wearing socks at the end of it.
The things that God, the things that God has spoken to him and through him in this series, crazy. It's crazy to look at Song of Solomon, which at first thought, I'm sure everybody's like, Song of Solomon, you're talking about that in church?
Yeah.
But what the Lord has laid on your heart about it, whew, my goodness.
It's been good.
You don't want to miss it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been really good.
Yeah.
So what about you? You know, I've talked a lot. I feel like I've talked a lot in this podcast about, you know, faith and what role it's had for me. But what about you? After you lost Jonathan and you said your faith was deepened. Maybe expound upon that. Like what roles did faith play in? I mean, there's like go back with me in your mind, and you know, there's our relationship, but there was also, you know, your job. There was your housing getting skyrocketed in price.
Yeah.
And
so
moving and all of those things.
I mean, I think my faith was built in all of that because, you know, I met Justin and, of course we were both grieving deeply, and we found comfort in each other, and we were both going through the same thing, similar, but the same thing. You know, everybody has their own journey, but my goodness, so similar. And we just slowly became best friends that just got each other and were there for each other. And I was living in Florida, and I wouldn't say that I had, Yeah, I'm gonna skip that part there. But it was I don't feel like I was where I needed to be, and so I began to pray about that. And then my landlord,
You're talking about like moving,
yes,
right? But like, what about, what about in the sense of, I don't mean to cut you off
No,
there, but I
no,
just
no.
like in the sense of direction, like what about things like, here now you're a single mom and you're working. Before you had a husband, and even though he'd fallen sick and you were working to provide while he was sick, when that was happening, he was home with the kids.
Yeah.
Now you're leaving kids home on their own or taking them to someone's house, or
Right.
so where was faith in the middle of all of those things?
So as much as I say my faith exploded and really grew in that time, there was also a lot of questions. I kept coming to the Lord and just saying, Lord, like, you designed men to be this role, and fathers to be this role that my husband was, goodness, amazing at. I mean, amazing husband, amazing father. He loved us so much, and he was such a hard worker. Like, you've never heard that man complain a day in his life about working. He loved work. He prayed to the Lord for work, all that, like, Lord, lay it on me. I want to be able to provide for my family. And he was all about that. And so I kept asking the Lord, like, look at all these broken homes. You don't want these broken homes. You don't want these dads that have walked out on their kids and on their spouses. And you don't want that. Like, that's not a good thing. But yet you took what was a really great thing and you took it from me. I had that here. So, like, Lord, what are you doing? What are you doing when I'm here now without that spouse, my girls? What about their father figure? How are they gonna grow up without a dad that they know loves them and gives them that security? And why would that happen? And I think that led to me just kind of praying more, digging deeper into the Bible, and even asking you for advice at that point, because you are so wise, such a wise pastor. You're not just a pastor, you truly love the Bible and the Word of God like I've never seen in my entire life. And so I think that you play a huge part in my faith building, because you gave me scripture, and you pointed me to Christ all the time. And I think that was huge in growing.
I do remember a few conversations going, well, hold up. Well, hang on.
For sure.
I remember a few times praying before I would send these texts. I'm like, okay, Lord, like, help her receive this. Like, help her see.
Yeah.
And I think that's funny too, because I think that answering those questions for you, but also for many others, I fielded so many questions. It's like the door opened up for me to share my faith in a way that I had not been able to share my faith in the past.
Yeah.
I hadn't been able, I was I'm pastor, but I was pastor of a very small church. And so the experience level there is much smaller, because, when you have 30 people coming to church, you have 30 people's worth of stuff, which is, there's still things to deal with, but goodness, the downtime was a whole lot more, with what's basically the size of us, a large, small group.
Yeah.
It's like seeing a giant little Debbie cake. It's like a giant shrimp, if you have a jumbo shrimp.
Yeah.
If you have a large, small group, that was our church in size. We were a large, small group in size. And so, dealing with all those pastoral things did not have the level of experience that after the church had grown.
Yeah.
And then even more so, it was like, others who had gone through grief, now there was a shared experience. I think everything from, losing children, losing parents, losing just kind of, I would just say loss in general. It seems like, all of a sudden I'm getting emails and direct messages and lots of opportunity to have that conversation. And I'll be honest with you, there for a while, I didn't really want to have it because I felt like, well, I kind of felt like, the only part that I know, the only thing that I could keep saying is like, this isn't making me want to pull away from God. I want to run to him. Like I just want to, just like I said, like I want to cling to that lifeboat. I want to run to the Father. And so, but I couldn't really articulate why I wanted to run to the Father other than the fact that my faith, I trust him. And so I'm not looking at this and blaming him. I blame cancer. I blame chemo.
Yeah.
I blame a lot of things,
Yeah.
but I don't blame God.
Yeah.
Which, is probably interesting because God is the giver and taker of life. And I think that that's the point that others are trying to get to, is to say, oh, well, but if God's the giver and taker of life, he's the one that gives and he's the one that takes away, then, isn't God the one who orchestrated this? Well, yes, but not without purpose and not without
Absolutely.
plan. And certainly not within cruelty. God was not looking at me and going, oh, well, Justin, you did X, Y, Z, and because you did X, Y, Z, you did these, you were bad in some way, and so I'm going to take your wife from you.
Right.
It's not that he was not, my wife's dying was not God's retaliation to me.
Right.
No, in a different way, God had been preparing me for years because he knew that this day was coming, because her day was coming.
Yeah.
Like, her life had a number of hours, a number of days, a number of seconds. He knew that. It is appointed unto man once to die. He knew that. I don't think I recognized it in that way.
Yeah. And I feel like the song, all my life you have been faithful, what we walk down the aisle to,
Yeah.
has been the theme song, especially with the grieving
It's
process.
your theme song. Mine's Staying Alive.
That's right.
Staying Alive.
No, but seriously.
Too soon? Was that okay? I feel bad saying it after I said it. It was just a joke, though.
No, it is just a joke. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And a lot of people agreed with you, actually, in that reel.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
That's right.
But I feel like that is true, though. The song really does speak, and I think that's what helped grow my faith. You say, like, with a job and being a single mom, and I just kept looking back and saying, Lord, all my life you have been faithful. Nothing has changed.
Yeah.
You're not gonna.
His faithfulness hasn't changed,
That's what I mean.
but my circumstances changed.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. Like, you're just as faithful. You're just as faithful. This might be the most devastating thing that I've been through, but you're still faithful. And
Right.
and that's what I was clinging to, was that, look, you've taken care of me my whole life. You've always been there. You've always, like, guided me and led me and lifted me up, and nothing that's not going to change. You are here. You are faithful, and you've been faithful my whole life. And I think that, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's
I think for me, answering all those questions for you, for other people, facing that made me, I don't know if just be able to articulate it or maybe even like forced me to look for answers that maybe I otherwise would have just lived in, but not necessarily, sometimes you just know something. We were talking about this the other day about, like, I have a 5-speed, I've got this 5-speed truck, and when I drive it, I literally don't think about it. Or when I type.
Which, by the way, that 5-speed, I drive very well. I know there was a lot of confusion in that reel.
Well, you just, when you take off, you have
He
to.
just says this to be funny, you guys. I promise you, he was, babe, clear the air for them. I am such a good, I drive that truck like it's nobody's business. I have never, I stalled it one time, I think. And that was because I just got done mouthing off and saying, I have never stalled this truck. We were at the drive-in, and I was telling his brother, I said, I have never stalled this truck, please. Boom, boom, I stalled it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have never stalled this thing in my life. But that was the one and only time. So I am a master. But anyways, go ahead with your story. I'm sorry.
I'm just saying that, like, you go through things and then you get to the point that you're not thinking about it. And so I think that So like if you ask me what the computer keyboard is, I could not tell you left to right the order of those keys. Like I know QWERTY. That's the only thing I know. QWERTY. I know that one because it's the guy's name, but that's it. Like I couldn't, but I could put my fingers on the home row keys.
And they would just go.
And I could literally, the sentence I'm saying to you right now, I could type it just
Yeah.
as fast as I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
And I can type it, but I don't have it. So you see what I'm saying? Like what I'm trying to say is with grief, what happened inside of grief and faith, I think that, all the questions forced me to answer what I would have just gone through, but it kind of forced me to articulate and to enumerate and to quantify, here's what happened, but here's what God's doing in the middle of it. And it'd be hard for me to go back in my mind and say, like, somebody asked me this question and I answered with this, or because there was just so many. I mean, it was so much. It was like everywhere I went all the time, Justin, can I ask you something? Are you in a place that I can ask you something? And then I would answer, those questions. And so often those were about, how are you not losing your faith? How are you not mad at God? Or what would you say to somebody who is mad at God? Or what do you say to somebody who lost somebody, but that person wasn't a believer? What do you say to that person? Where's their hope? And so, just having to answer all those questions, forced me to really put answers to something that I was living and going through, but maybe wasn't always thinking about what those answers were.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's a great way.
I have another kind of question on the table, which is, how has faith shaped your relationship and also your decisions? So now that we've lost someone, and I think we would both agree that we feel like our faith has grown through loss. It's forced our faith to grow. So now when it comes to our relationship or our decisions, like how do those things look different? And how does faith look different in those things when we make decisions now versus maybe what it was before?
That's a good question. You can have me answer it? You want me to answer?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And I mean,
So I would say
get us started.
I would say of that I feel like I feel like it's not just to like throw it out there and like, Lord, if you want this for me, show me that you want this for me. Or Lord, I feel like there's more, I don't know, faith involved in that, and more, my eyes are opened to things like, and trust. I guess trust is the biggest thing that I want to say. I trust that no matter where he leads me in any decision, you feel like in some, before pre-loss, it would be, there's a disappointment when you don't get something. But I feel like there's not as much of a disappointment now. I feel like he knows. Trust that. Like he knows what he's doing, and it's all for his purpose. Like just like the loss, you question it and you're upset about it, but you come down to he knows though. He knows, and it's going to serve a greater purpose to glorify him. And so I feel like kind of that in all decisions, like what is going to glorify him? Even in marriage, even in our marriage, I look at it like, Lord, I use my marriage to glorify you. Use the story of our lives to glorify you. Use the restoration to glorify you. And so I feel like, I don't know, in relationships and decisions, there's more of a, Lord, I trust what you're doing. Like I don't ask so much for me. You see what I'm saying? Like it's not like, well, I want this, Lord. It's more, Lord, what do you want? What do you want in my life? What do you want in my relationships?
I think that's valuable to get to that place of saying, like, I think if I was to put my own words to that, I would say, like, Lord, I want what you want more than what I want.
Exactly.
Like faith through loss and faith after loss helps lead us to a place of saying, God, I have to trust what you want
Absolutely.
more than what I want.
That's
So,
right.
I think that the translation of that, I'm always like relating things to maybe something that has nothing to do with it.
No, I think you do a good job of doing that.
Like I think about back in the day, this is going to sound like a really dumb illustration, but I don't care. I guess I'm already in it. So back in the day, I had a Nintendo 64, and my dad had this old television, and you could not plug the Nintendo 64 into that television because you couldn't go up. You could go down, but you couldn't go up. And so the TV wouldn't receive that plug. Like it just wouldn't work. Like you couldn't do it. Maybe later they maybe made a converter or something, or somebody smart could figure it out. But like the regular average Joe just couldn't go pick up a Nintendo plug and plug it in because the TV just couldn't receive.
Yeah.
Am I making sense?
Yeah.
Kind of what I'm saying there?
Yeah.
And I think in the same way, like faith in this way works this way. Like if you've gone through some great thing that's caused great faith, like losing a spouse and still having to go forward in life and trust the Lord and his plan. So I've gone through this great thing. So now like going to the level of saying like, oh, well, we got to buy a car, or, what it's like. I mean, I think we've literally looked at each other and been like, we've lived through worse than this. Like, we've been through worse. Like if this is the worst thing that's going to happen today.
Exactly. Gives you a completely different perspective.
Yeah. And so like it translates down.
Yeah.
Faith translates down that way, but not necessarily up. If your greatest faith has been, well, when I changed jobs, I had to trust the Lord while I changed jobs. I'm not, that's a brick, that's a brick that gets laid in the foundation. I think the Lord used all those little moments of faith to build up a greater faith, a foundation of faith in me, that when I lost my wife.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is when I lost my wife, I think it was an exponential growth of faith to say, I trust the Lord. I mean, I can use a pretty great one in our church. Our church moved into this giant building that's a lot of money that we don't have. Like I regularly admit that like we do not have the money for this building. And I'll tell you, I have not lost a lick of sleep.
Yeah.
There's never been a day. Now, I mean, I've lost sleep over other things, but I have not lost one lick of sleep over worrying about that building. Because in my mind, I'm like, I've been through worse than that. I mean, if we lost it all, if we lost that building and had to go meet in a tent in a park somewhere, I'd be like, I mean, that stinks.
I mean, even the process of getting the church. I remember I was in Florida having conversations with you, and you're like, look at this, just got presented to us. This is how it is. And even through the deals and through the contracts that went back and forth, and you were like, I'm not worried about it. If this is what the Lord wants for us, he's going to give it to us, and nothing's going to stop that. And that's kind of continued throughout the whole journey. I mean, when an electric bill came in and you're like, everybody's like, we can't afford this.
I know.
You're like, what are you going to, what are you going to do? The Lord's going to provide, and boom, the Lord provides every single time.
Yeah. So I feel like that's my answer to my own question there about like decisions. I think I'm at a place of going, hey, look, I do the best that I can. I make the best decision I can make, and then I literally leave it in the Lord's hands. And I'm like, hey, if this is what He wants, it goes through, and if it's not what He wants, it doesn't go through. And if it starts to go through and then it doesn't go through, well, then even that was within His plan.
He has something better.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think that's a huge part. I think also something that I would point out just for myself when I was thinking about that before hearing your answer, which I think is a great answer, but I think that something that was in my head about decisions after loss, how has like faith shaped making decisions after loss? I think for me, the brevity of life is so real to me now. that things that I feel like, and I know you might feel like you disagree with me a bit, but like, well, what about other things, especially like us and, being in a relationship.
There was that for me. There was that. Sure. Like I thought, you see all these things and how quickly life moves and how quickly the shortness of life. And yet I'm like, I'm ready. I was ready a long time ago to be married to you. I was ready to have you be the dad of my children and for me to step in for your children, which are now our children. And I looked at it like, how do you not see it this way? How do you not see that, like, look what's right here in front of us and life is so short. So yeah. I
said, I knew you would disagree with part of that with me. Not that you disagree with what I'm saying, but
yeah. But
I'm saying that when I think about things that I want to do in life, decisions, I'm like, I better do it now. I better, like, this is I have today. Mm-hmm. I don't know that I have forever. And I know when it came to our relationship, for those of you who don't know, like we talked for a year, then we dated for a year, and when I say talked, we weren't just talking, we were friends. You moved up here and we still were not dating. And
I was up here for a year.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Dating. Like, here I was. And I think that was caused a lot of confusion for some people. But I think, I kept trying to remind everyone, I'm like, that there were so many people who were like, well, what's going on? Well, what's going on? What's going on? And I'm like, hold on. Like, let me explain to you what's going on. I lost my wife and I'm really sad. Mm-hmm. That's what's going on. Mm-hmm. Like, at the end of the day, why is it that I'm hanging out with this woman but not ready to date? And the answer was, because I'm not ready to date, because I'm really sad. And I told you that.
Yeah, and I was like, mind your business. That's what I was like to everybody. Mind your business. Like, you wouldn't question anybody else. Why are you questioning this man? He lost his wife. Leave it alone. Like, you don't understand. You're on the outside. And he's much more sweet and calm about it with people and understanding. And I just was like, I don't know. My defense mechanism kicks in.
Yeah.
And I want to protect and...
So, but I would say, to that decision, the reason that decision took me time is because I bet, this is leaning on this phone is leaning. Did y'all just hear a vibrate? Because it was like in the microphone. Did it just go into the microphone?
Yeah, probably.
Probably did. Let's move that. Move our phone. It's probably happened a few times, y'all. Anyways, that's funny.
Sorry.
But I think, for me, just looking at, like, when I think of something like a vacation, or when I think of something like, doing something with the kids, doing something with you, I definitely have a different mindset. I was very much a homebody before.
Yeah.
And I still am to a certain degree. I mean, I love being at home in the sense of I love being at home with my family and I love being at home with my kids. And I love that. But I also have a sense of this may be your only chance to do it.
Sense of urgency.
Yeah, there's a sense of urgency about a lot of things. And I think that's bled into, my evangelism, my preaching, my, my, any of it, it's like the equal opposite of what James said in, James chapter 5, when he's like, come on, or James chapter 4, when he's like, come on now, you who say tomorrow you're going to go here, go there and buy this and make profit. You don't know that you're going to be able to do any of it. You don't even know that you have tomorrow. And so I look at it from the other side and go, well, if I don't know that I have tomorrow, then I better do it now. Mm-hmm. And so I think that it's, and mix that with the faith element of, I better do it now, and the Lord's, if I'm doing it now, then I can trust that the Lord's got a plan in
That's
this.
right.
So I hope I made sense of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
One more thing that I'd like to touch on before we wrap up today would be just where faith is in healing. Because I think a big part, we talk a lot, we speak a lot about grief. And that's because grief was, if you have a job for, like, here I go again with I just keep doing this. I just like throw it out.
No, but it's good because it connects.
Sure.
The point.
But like when you have a job and you've worked at a place for like 2 years or 3 years, and then that's the thing that you talk about.
Yeah.
Like you're at the dinner table.
You mean like the Chick-fil-A workers in our home?
Yeah, our kids that work.
Two of our kids that work at Chick, and that's all. Like, first it started out with
They always
Elijah.
stuck in shop.
He was just Chick-fil-A everything. He lives, eats, and breathes it. And then
Literally
Kaylee,
eats it. That's
then
it.
Kaylee starts working there, and then that's all we hear from her. And their lives really do revolve around Chick-fil-A.
I mean, there's so much Chick-fil-A talk.
At least it's the Lord's chicken.
Yeah, that's right. All chickens are the Lord's chicken.
That's true.
Okay.
But anyways.
The point I'm trying to get at is I think that, we speak about grief a lot because that was a big pond that we were swimming in for a long time.
Can I just stop you for a second, and can you just address the whole considering ourselves a remarried widow and widower? Because I mean, that what you were just talking about kind of rolls right into that also, what we were just talking about the other day.
Yeah, I will address that, but I'll address that with a caveat that says, we kind of, some of the things we addressed in the last podcast, people still said
it still,
they still said the exact same thing that we were like, you shouldn't say that. Like, don't compare sufferings. Then people are like, yeah, but I went through. I know that's the whole thing. Like, we all suffer, and so I would say that what Kelly's referencing there is that we regularly hear from lots of. Well, I shouldn't say lots, but we hear from several or a few that want to say you really should stop calling yourselves widows and widowers.
Stop living in the past. You need to move on.
Stop living in the past. You need to move on. Those sorts of comments and
you're not a widow anymore. You're not a widower anymore.
Yes.
You need to move on. You're holding on to the past.
Right. The fact of the matter is that we have to understand that, first of all, being a widow or a widower is not like you were a drug addict.
Right.
It's not like we were like, we've shed, like we once were an addict, but now we're not an addict.
Yes.
And so you're looking at us and going, well, you're not an addict anymore.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm not an addict who got rid of something bad. We're people who lost someone that we were married to.
Exactly.
So because we've been remarried does not take away that portion of our lives. And probably what I would say is one of the biggest things in our life.
For sure.
The biggest thing we've ever gone through, the biggest forced change that we've ever gone through, and so it's not like we were prisoners who've been set free. And so now it's like, oh, you're not in prison anymore. No, like the love that we had for our spouses
and still have.
Right. That's what I was getting to. It was like, we didn't go away from that.
Exactly.
Like, it's not like, oh, well, we loved them, but then they died, so now we don't love them anymore.
Right.
So it's when someone says, oh, well, you're not a widower anymore. No, I am. I absolutely am. And if they say to you, you're not a widow anymore, you absolutely are. You're a widow who's been remarried.
That's right.
But in your life, you had a husband. That husband passed away. That does make you a widow.
Yeah.
And also, I would say that it establishes a level of credibility in the conversation to say, like, why do we what knowledge do we have of such grief or such things? Like, why is it that we've landed where we are? I'll tell you this one, even credibility in this sense. Someone looked at me recently and they said, oh, well, Justin's new wife, and they looked a little cross. And then the other person, not me, they recognized it and they went, no, Justin's wife passed away and his new wife, she's also a widow. And the person they were talking to went, oh, because what they heard in their mind was, I left my wife and now I have a new wife. But you see, that's what I'm saying. I didn't leave my wife now I have a new wife.
Yes.
I lost my wife. There is no point in the rest of my life where I will ever say I didn't lose my wife. I did lose my wife, and so I do know what that feels like. Yes. So by saying, like, as a widower, or as a widow, or as a widow and widower together who got married, or this or that, we're not negating the new marriage that we have. Exactly. We're not taking that away, and we're not living in the past. We're just establishing why we're saying what we're saying and why we have a presence in that like where that presence is coming from.
Exactly.
So,
Sorry, I didn't mean to tee us off there. I thought it was super important to.
yeah. I think at some point we probably ought to have a lengthier conversation about that, because I think there's more to be said there. But,
Agree.
But I think for now to talk about the healing portion, because I think that it would be good for us to reference, where faith is in our healing, because I believe I can say that I am a living testimony of healing, and that healing came through faith.
Yes.
I think the temptation might be for someone to look and say, oh, that healing came from, and maybe this kind of ties into what I was just saying, like that healing came from getting remarried. But that's not true. Getting married to Kelly did not bring the healing. I had to wait for the Lord to heal my heart before, and this, like, I mean, often we had conversations and I would say to Kelly, like, I'm waiting for the Lord to deliver me from the grief, from the pain, from the sorrow. And
where I kind of had the flip side of that with people.
Yeah.
People looked at me and said, well, Justin isn't going to bring your healing. I know you're ready to move on with him, but that you need to grieve first. But what I tried to say to them was, my biggest thing is you have no idea what it feels like to wake up every morning and say to God, why'd you wake me up? I mean, I have children, and so I would rebuke that immediately. And Lord, I want to be here for them. But you have no idea what it feels like to not want to wake up every day, to then meet somebody who's been through exactly what you've been through, and you feel this little glimmer of hope that this person knows, like they know what I'm going through, and they feel what I'm feeling. And so that restored and that deepens a relationship that you have with that person. There's a newfound joy and friendship that leads into, other things. But, people were always coming to me and like, Kelly, you need to allow yourself to grieve. I did grieve. Mm-hmm. I did the best way I know how. And what made me.
Well, that's the whole thing. There's no textbook for grief.
Exactly.
There's no Scantron test that's a multiple choice. This isn't your SATs or your ACTs that you can, quantify it and go, okay, well, you've passed. That's just not how that works.
That's right.
And I think in the same way, I would even say, I think we're in agreement in this, that you did not, the Lord used me and the hope that you found and the faith that you found in me, used that. But even still, us getting married did not bring the healing.
That's right.
You had to get to a place of healing.
That's right.
And then you're ready to go forward. Because I'll remind you that in the early days, here's a private conversation that Kelly and I had in the early days. Kelly said to me, I will never get remarried again.
I'm married to Jonathan for the rest of my life.
Yeah, that's what you said. You said, I'm married to Jonathan for the rest of my life. And I even sent you some scriptures and said, well, that's not biblical. That's not, you can do that if you want.
Yes.
But the Bible says you don't have to do that.
Yeah. And which little, I don't know, God wink is that what they call it? Is when you said that to me, when he gave me the scriptures, the only Bible I had, it was a shared Bible between me and Jonathan. Mm-hmm. And his Bible had the Bible marker. Mm-hmm. And I'm a person that Justin will say, she likes her numbers. And, I'm all about these like weird little quirks. And I went to go open up the Bible. I'm like, I wonder did he place this Bible marker here? Or was it like a random thing? But I wonder, what am I going to open up to at this little Bible marker that he put there? And it was the very scripture that said, when you become a widow, when you lose your spouse, you have every right.
Yeah, let the widows marry.
Yes.
That's what Peter
Which was just insane to me. And it was like kind of at the same time, I mean, you telling me that and me opening up, and that was right there. And I don't know, it was just kind of. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so, but my point is that you didn't find healing in getting married. Mm-mm. You found healing, and then we were able to get married, even though there's a time that elapsed in between. Yes. But I'm saying it was one then the next.
Yes.
And the same thing for me. There was a time when Kelly was here and we're friends, and I think she's getting to the point that I'm saying that this is where I was. I'm like, I think she's getting to the point that she's probably growing weary of waiting on me. And so I went to Kelly and I said, Kelly, look, if you want to date, if you want to find somebody, you have every right to do that. Like it will not harm our friendship. I will not, I'm not going to turn my back on you if you decide you want to date. I understand that but I'm at a place that I know I need to heal before I can be to a point that I want to date. And so I did that. I waited until I felt like I was in a place. And even when we got married, I waited until we got to a place where I felt like, well, for me, it literally looked like this. I mean, I got to a place where it was like the loneliness started to wane or wax, whichever one means get smaller.
I don't know.
Wax, or which one is it? I think it's wane.
Leave it in the comments.
Yeah, wax and wane.
Know.
Google that. Anyways. But when the grief had begun to wane and the loneliness had begun to wane, and I'm feeling better about I'm feeling better. That's it. I'm just feeling better, not just about life or whatever, but I'm just literally beginning to feel better. And then I got to a point where I was feeling like, what am I doing? Why am I laying here alone every day? Why am I waking up alone every day? Why am I going through this alone? Like here's this woman who loves me and who loves my family, who would love to get married to me. And the only thing holding that back is you. And that was a switch for me in my mind to feel a different way, because and so for me, that was like a recognition that, I'm in a place that I'm getting ready for that. And that's when I went to my kids and I told my kids that, hey, Dad's feeling this way. Like I'm starting to feel like I'm ready to get married. And that's what I meant when I said I'm starting to feel like I'm ready to get married, because I started feeling like, why am I waiting? And I know the answer. If I think logically, I know the answer why I was waiting, because I wasn't ready before. I was very sad and I was very hurt, and I knew that I was very sad and I knew I was very hurt, and I knew that a ring on someone's finger is not going to fix that pain and that hurt. But when that pain and hurt started to wane and become smaller, and then I'm starting to have feelings of like, well, what are you doing here? Like, what are you doing waiting around? What are you waiting for? That was like a turning point for me. Mm-hmm. And so now where does faith fall into that? Well, I needed an amount of faith to carry me from that point A to point B, from that point of Sarah's passing, extreme grief, to a behind the scenes grief where I'm putting on a face and I go out and go about my day, and I'm not crying at the grocery store, and I'm not, crying in every single sermon that I preach, and, I'm not losing it on every day. But yet at the same time, the moment that the crowd is gone, and the moment that the people are gone, the moment the phone call is put up, and the moment the kids are in bed, when everything gets quiet, oof, there it is again. I'm still in it. And so when I got through that, I needed to get through that. Yep. And what got me there was faith. This faith is carrying me through the whole time. And I'm actually going to bring this up on Sunday. It's funny that we're talking about this today, because in a couple of days when I preach this, I'm going to talk about this. But, I think if you think of it like a Band-Aid, if you have a cut, let's not go with big wound. You could have a big wound and it could be a similar way, but let's go with a small one. Like you get a cut. Like if you had a cut on your hand and it was exposed, it stings. But you go take a Band-Aid.
Which don't take Band-Aids, by the way. They have cancer causing.
Yeah, I just saw that.
Crazy.
Yeah, but
just look into it.
Before I knew anything of that, I'm just using Band-Aids. Yeah, okay. Right. And I don't know what I'm supposed to use otherwise, because you do have this problem. If you
super glue. No, I'm just kidding. We got
It actually works. But if you have a cut, let's say you have a cut on your thumb, mm-hmm. It stings. You go take a Band-Aid and you put a Band-Aid on that cut. The sting will go away. Does it not?
Yeah.
The sting will go away for a little bit. Now, if you're like me, I'm kind of...
I think because the air's not hitting it.
Yeah, the air's not hitting it. You're probably pushing it together.
You're protecting it from...
Yeah, and you're probably pushing the skin together a little bit. There's probably several things there. Yeah. Put a little ointment on it. That ointment softens the blow a little bit, and so that also helps. But then what happens? You wash your hands, And when you wash your hands, the Band-Aid comes off. And so when the Band-Aid comes off, sometimes the Band-Aid will come off. I'm like, I pull it off of there. And then all of a sudden I'm doing something else. And, it stings me. And I'm like, oh, man, I forgot I had that cut. Or maybe reopen it or whatever. And so what do? You got to go get a Band-Aid. You got to go put another Band-Aid on it. Now, if I was to say I already put a Band-Aid on and look, it stings again, that would be foolish. Because you'd look at me and be like, just go get another Band-Aid. The reason the Band-Aid came off is because you washed your hands or you took a shower, you were working with something, the Band-Aid came off. That's why the Band-Aid came off. But the Band-Aid still works, right? Like the Band-Aid works, and it worked while it was on. Something caused it to come off, and now it stings again. So I'm not going to blame the new sting on the Band-Aid and be like, well, the Band-Aid doesn't work. I go put another Band-Aid on. That I think that to a point, like faith, I'm going to reference that with prayer in my sermon, but my point is like faith is like that Band-Aid. I'm not going to blame my faith for the sting coming back. My faith is the same thing that helps the sting go away for a little bit. And yeah, other things reopen that wound. And things happen that cause that to come off for a little bit, and the sting comes back. And so what do? I want to rewrap that thing back up with faith. That's the point of where faith is in our healing.
Gosh, yeah, that's good.
And then what happens? After a time, the Band-Aid's been on, and the Band-Aid comes off, it stings, you put another Band-Aid on, and then it shortens, like the amount of time that you need that Band-Aid shortens and shortens until all of a sudden
you're healed.
Yeah, you're healed. Then the healing is there. So did the Band-Aid play a part in the healing? Yes. So does faith, does prayer play a part in our healing? A huge part.
Yeah.
And you can't say that just because it wasn't like this immediate, like, oh, well, I'm over it tomorrow.
Yeah.
That faith didn't work or prayer didn't work. No, it certainly did. It did the job at the time that the Lord needed.
I think that's beautiful.
So, faith plays a huge role in our healing journey. And I believe faith is the thing that helps us to heal what I would say, I wanted to say completely, but that feels wrong. Maybe
no, because I feel like the perfect way to put it is it heals it, right? But there's still a scar.
Yeah, sure.
Especially when it's a deep wound.
Yeah.
There's still a scar. You know, you didn't just scrape your knee and then that's it. It was a deep cut.
The deeper you cut, yeah, sure. The sting goes away. You don't need a Band-Aid every day, but the mark can still be there.
Yes.
And I think that's it. Well, there you go. There's that mark. There's that widowhood mark.
Yes.
Like we've been marked with that.
Absolutely.
That scar is never going to go away.
Yes.
And even if we tried to pretend that it wasn't there, it would still be there.
Absolutely.
So, it's funny because even within all of that being said, like I've got this video that's got a couple million views. It's just me driving my truck, and I put the question on there, which is a real question. Do you still get sad even though you're remarried? A widow who's been remarried, a widower who's been remarried, do you still get sad? And the answer is yes. There are still times when I made that video, I'm kind of in my head, I'm having a moment because that was the passing of my wife. That was, the day that she had passed, March the 5th. And so I was, in my head in a big way. And so it's a real question. Do you still get sad even though now I've been remarried? And yes, our marriage has not completely gotten rid of that.
Yeah.
That scar. That scar is still there. That scar tissue is still there.
Yep.
So I don't live in a place of sadness and depression, but it still comes on.
For sure.
And that doesn't mean that I haven't been healed.
Exactly.
Because I have been healed.
Exactly.
So I think the word I would use there would be thoroughly. Like, maybe not necessarily, things are not the way they used to be.
Yeah.
But the wound is definitely closed up. It's not just sewn up, it's closed up.
Yes.
It's not the same wound.
Like my crooked finger. Yeah. I broke my finger and it's healed. It's completely healed. There's nothing, but it's crooked.
Yeah.
It's always going to be crooked.
It's marked.
But it's functioning. It functions just the way it needs to function.
Yeah.
But there's that.
Yeah. Well, goodness gracious. We've been talking for an hour and 18 minutes.
Oh.
Yeah, we should probably wrap this thing up.
Yeah, we should. But we have so much more to come. So much more to come. We have
a list.
We have a list. We have some really great things to talk about with people. And, we also want to open it up to questions. If people have got questions,
Yeah,
shoot us them. We'll
we're
talk about
listening to you guys. We appreciate y'all coming along. Goodness, that first video just got all kinds of attention, and we appreciate you guys leaving comments.
You guys are amazing. Seriously.
Yeah, we love it. So keep them coming. Leave us a comment down below. You can chime in on all this, and we're loving hearing from you guys. And maybe next week in the episode, Kelly will have her new shirt on.
I hope so. I hope it comes here.
If she doesn't change.
I might change. I change a lot because I changed my mind. But yeah, I hope it's here and I hope I can wear it. And I just want to say too that, I've had so many people say that my laugh is healing them, that my laugh is contagious. Y'all are healing me by saying those things, because just to know, I questioned, I'll be brief, but I questioned, after Jonathan passed, where's the glory going to go? And how is my story? And I would look at you and I'm like, your church is growing. Like you're reaching so many people. I'm not. Yeah. So what is mine? What is the passing of my husband going to do? But man, like I have had so many people come to me and say, your laugh alone is healing me. Your laugh is contagious. Your personality is healing me, your story. And it makes my world. It truly does. It helps to heal me.
I have heard from maybe close to a half a dozen. If I was to say 4, I don't want to over exaggerate. If you said 4 people, 5, 6, somewhere in that number, 4, 5, 6, in the last couple weeks that have said the words to me, your all's story is bringing healing. It's and
that's just in person, because we get it a lot online.
Yeah. So, I think you have a role in that. You're a source in that for that. That healing. I think it's one thing for people to see someone go through the grief, but to see someone come out on the other end of it, and actually, when you've kind of seen documented the whole time, the whole thing, you've seen these kind of slices, these pictures that now you put them together. You ever seen that, like when there's like one picture, another picture, another picture, another picture, but if you flip them through the book,
like a flip book,
then you can see you can see the whole movement. Picture. And I think that's where we are. There were all these like snapshots, but now you can thumb through that flip book and you can see the movement, you can see the progression, and that progression lands at a place of healing. Reality check is, hey, one of us, unless the Lord returns, one of us has to live this again. We knew that going into this. But that's a new perspective too, that, we have an experience now that we didn't have before. So, well, goodness, I'm going to wrap us up.
Yes.
Because we still have to go work out.
Yes, we do.
So we have got lots to do. All right. Well,
10:14. Let's do it.
Oh, man. Maybe we just go to bed. All right, y'all. Thanks for coming along.
We love you. We love you. We love you.
Happy chaos. We're gonna
Signing out.
It doesn't feel like chaos when you're in the podcast, but I promise you, in the morning it's gonna be chaos.
It is chaos.
So, all right. See you guys.